The management of desires is an important aspect in development of swadharma or nature. So, in multiple places in Gita, we will hear the discourse between Arjuna and Krishna about iksha, dvesh, papa, rajas, and all these concepts, along with rati and samskara, are interrelated. So, first understand that there is desires based on your swadharma, past nature, call it samskaras, and a component comes from active influences that you surround yourself with, which is the vritti. So, all desires, when you think about sakam karma, we should call desires only when they are sakam. So, ambition to make the world a better place is not a desire. That is a Manipur chakra, higher than yourself desire, if you will. So, that is countered as motivation, ambition, something which is higher than desire. For desire to be called desire, it has to be originating from the Swadhisthana or the sacral plexus chakra that is just above the Muladhara chakra or the root plexus. Reason being, it has to be sakam. It has to be towards growth of the self identity or ego. And that is always happening when we as individuals are trying to satiate our desires for our identity, ego, pleasures. So the component of indriya or senses and manas or man getting satisfied for the time being, dopamine dependent, is always there with desire. Otherwise, it becomes an ambition because you are fueling something higher than yourself. And that is why when you are fueling something higher than yourself, it is something that might benefit you in the long run, both materially and spiritually, but it is not a desire. And that is why having ambitions where you have shreya, long-term gratification, killing the preya, or short-term gratification, is always more idealistic than chasing a desire or iksha. So getting the nomenclature right is important. Iksha or desire is what is drawn from the Swadhisthana, and ambition is what is being drawn from the Manipura, higher than the Swadhisthana. And having ambitions is way better than having desires. Now, this topic is about management of desires. Because once the desire has germinated, it has to be managed. Just like any plant that has germinated, it has to be managed. So, it is important to understand that the desire genesis was from swadharma or nature and the active component of gunas, the sattva, rajas, and tamas that we associate ourselves with. So, the thing that people try a lot in spirituality, which Gita has clearly said will not work in totality, is nigraha or daman, which is suppression of the desire. Once germinated, the plant cannot be pushed back into the soil to become a seed. So it has become a irreversible progressive change. Now, those two painful words, both irreversible and progressive, need that we have to alter our management skill. So you cannot do daman or suppression. That is only going to work when the desire has not germinated. Once you have that thought in your mind to act upon something, gain an object of sensual gratification, act on a stimulus, their desire has already germinated. So nigraha will not work, suppression will not work. Three things will work, and those are the three things which we should try to do to manage any cropped up desire while trying to prevent formation of new desires. The three things are: number one, exercise your desire in the most sattvic way possible and treating it as an obligation rather than as a mode of enjoyment, a burden of obligation rather than a mode of enjoyment. That is, exercise your desire responsibly. B is convert your desire into aversion, which is transformation, because all desires are germinating in the mode of rajas. Kamesh, Krodesh, Rajagun, Samudbhava. So they are either arising in excess of calm, which becomes passion, or in excess of krodh or aversion. So those two modes will be the way to transmute or convert one from the other. Very quickly, extreme hatred will become extreme passion, and extreme passion will become extreme hate. That is what we see in so many marriages when people are totally into each other, and 2 years later they are up their necks when they're trying to get a divorce. So extreme love can transmute into extreme hate. So this kind of extreme love based on senses, what desire is, can turn into aversion. So if we can learn to transmute them from desire to aversion, that is great, but also know that it can again revert back to desire. So that's why it is not the ideal way of dealing with it, but it's certainly a way to suppress selectively the desire while you're trying to overcome its burden. And the third one is, after, of course, not trying to suppress the desire, just exercising the desire. And I told you the second one is where we try to transmute the desire from a point of goodness, or I should say, convert the desire from point of desire to point of aversion. The third way is to supplant your desire with a motivation. So convert your desire into an ambition. Convert your thought that arises from Swadhisthana into a thought that arises from Manipura. So that is a better way, because you are trying to create altruistic bent in your desire, and you have found something that is bigger than you, higher than you. And that usually works a little better than converting desire into aversion, but depending on your swadharma or nature, either of those two will be fine. So suppression will not work, as Bhagavad Gita tells us, chapter 3, verse 33, Sadrisham cheste sa swaya prakritir gyanman api prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishati. So people will act according to their prakritim or prakriti. Prakritim yanti bhutani. All the biological bodies or bhutas will act according to their prakritim or inherent nature. Nigraha kim karishati. Nigraha or suppression. What can that do? Nothing. So it will flare it up more. So once you know that we have a desire, basically desire is something that we have created from Swadhisthana for the growth of the ego identity, and is usually manifested by satiation of the indriyas as pleasure, or satiation of the mind as overgrowth of the ego and I am bigger than this. So both satiation of the mind and the ego, transient, lead to an upsurge of dopamine, and hence the desire seems to be satiated for the time being. But it is in the realm of rajas, and a fire can never be satiated by pouring more oil on it. And that's why you will see this transient suppression only to be coming back more vigorously the next time. And once you try to understand and become aware that this upsurge is more cataclysmic, destroying, then over time your awareness will slowly reduce the desire for the desire, although you will still act on it based on the desire becoming a craving. So the desire cannot be suppressed. Desire has to be dealt with in one of the three ways: exercise responsibly in a sattvic way till you get totally desaturation. You are not anymore wanting the desire because you have exercised multiple times whereof the desire has exhausted. Or B, you can alter your desire into an aversion. Ichha dvesh samuthen dvand mohin bharta sarbhutani sammohan sarge yanti prantapa. The polarities of ichha and dvesh, hatred and love, passion, are going to run this world in the mode of delusion, and everybody, sarge yanti parantapa, everybody in this world will be affected by it when they take a birth. So convert your desires into aversions, and that's one way to transiently suppress them. The third way is to supplant your desire into an ambition, converting the point of wanting from Swadhisthana, the pleasure sacral plexus, to the ambition fire plexus in the solar plexus of Manipura. So once you know all three ways, then you are responsibly dealing with your desires, and the next step, of course, is to continue working in the path of Three Yoga Panch Pratyahara to obtain your higher goals and thereby prevent the elimination of desires in the first place. Jai Shri Ram.